Hey guys, my name is Raven Phoenix and welcome to the Structure of Man. Learn to draw the human figure from your mind. Right, so in the previous lesson, we went through really this very powerful exercise where we're now beginning to understand really the common sense behind the statements of the uh, the word obvious as to why the human figure looks the way it does, right? So that's what it's going to come down to when we're drawing it. It will just become obvious concept like drawing out the circle, right? So what we're going to do now is we've taken a look at the forms of the human head, and now we're going to draw out the human head using these forms in let's say about 4 different angles, just to see how this is going to work and what we can learn from it, right? Just because these lines are here doesn't mean we have to follow them. This is a template system. You can do away with these lines and you can add more structures to it, right? So here, where this line is here, I've just added it to show you from here to here that this is how where the eye is going to be, right? It's just a automatic system of thinking. So here, you just keep that paper on the side if you need to refer to it. So what we'll do is let's first draw out, let's say over here, I'm going to basically draw out a human head here first, right? So the first idea is let's make him like kind of like looking up. So here, let's say that I'm going to first draw out like a circle over here, right? So here I'm going to kind of like, we'll make it a little more bigger over here, right? Make it more of a kind of like a egg shape, and then make it go down like this over here. This gives me like a nice ball shape over here, right? And then from within here I can decide, okay, I want to then bring out like the head down like this, and then here I'm just going to make that line over here, right? So from here I'm going to have to I know where the jaw is going to be. It's just going to come down here like this over here, right? So where I stop the jaw, this is just automatic now, knowing that the half of this I'm just going to come down here automatically, right? So here, once we have this, so now the thing is later on when we get into the muscles of the neck, everything is just going to be understood as forms, right? So this is where your jaw is. We'll get another form that we'll look at uh, in this uh, uh, in this lesson, just to show you that you're going to get like the soft curve over here, right? So over here, let's say that this is okay. So this is going to be the half of the head over here. Okay, here I'm just dividing this, just looking at it from that direction, right? So here's the half of the head, and basically the line is kind of like over here, I guess. It's not all the way over there. It's sort of like a very extreme angle. So once I know this, I'm going to here just figure out, okay, this is my point here, over here, right? And I know, okay, well, the other point is going to be here. So the first step is that we're just going to make like this form, this idea over here, right? We know that this is going to just go like this, and we also know from here that it's going to go in, the plane is going to go in over here. Let me erase some of this stuff here so you can see, right? This is my original line over here. So what I'm doing is now using the ideas of the form, I'm going to make this line first over here. Then I know that basically where this line is, I know that the bone for the nose is just basically going to be on this line, just like this over here. Okay, that's the first thing that we did, right? So we had the center line really just going through this, right? Everything just has to be approximate over here. So once we got this line here, we started to understand, okay, well, the bone for this is definitely going to go in, right? Because now you got to think in 3D here. It's not going to be over here, right? It has to be much more in because the eye is going to be here. So we know that, okay, well, from within this idea, we know that we did this, right? From here, we did this mark here, right? We did this mark, right? So this is going to help us understand, okay, I'm just going to go down, and over here, this will basically give me the understanding that the eye needs to be over here, right? This automatically gives us the line for it over here. So this is going to be very small amounts of detail over here now. So here I'm just going to do this for the eye, knowing that it's got to fit over here. Obviously I can't see anything on the other side, right? So from over here, when I divide this in half, I know that the line for the nose is definitely going to be over here. Remember, this is all going on a sphere type of a circular motion over here. So here I know that the line for the nose is here, and I know that it's going to be near where the tear ducts are going to be, right? So basically I'm just going to mark it over here. So I know that, right, for the line for the nose is basically like going to be here. This line again is on this guy. I didn't draw it out yet, right? So I know that, right? So basically the nose is going to be like this, right? So when I draw out the nose, I'm really just drawing it out this way over here, right? So meaning that the nostrils are just going to be like this, right? Going in this way. You have to think of this in 3D here, right? Some of these angles are going to be a little tricky, but you'll get it, right? So once we did this, then we said, okay, we know that we have to think about this idea here, right? So once we get this idea, we know that, right, it's really like this triangle, really thinking about the forms of the structure, and then over here we're going to make this line come out, right? So this line here basically is going to go in this direction over here, this way, right? So we know from this point here we're going to come down, from this point here we're going to come down. Let me do this a little more darker so you can see this way, and I did this and this, right? And this one I know that basically it's going to come down over here. The other line I already know it's going to come down this way, because this is where, if we divide this in 3 different parts, we know that the lips are going to be here. We're going to come down just a little bit, right? So when we do that, we can just do it this way and call it a day, right? We don't have to really worry about the whole concept here. So when we do it this way here, we know that this is going to be now a form, and so we know that this thing here has to be going out of the human head, right? It has to, right? So up above this, we know that we're going to get the lips, right? So we're going to have to draw this very small, but be more precise about it. And we know that this is just going to be the bottom of the lip over here, and it's going to go this way, right? So this will give us this plane over here, and we know that over here we're just going to get this plane over here, right? It doesn't have to come out that much, just know that that's what it is. And this is just going to finish off over here, right? So in this idea here, we know that, right, the opening for the nose is basically going to come down over here, just like this over here. Then we're going to get like this idea here. So here I'm just going to make the nostril a little more, just a little bigger over here, right? Because it's going up a little bit more, right? And this line is here, right? So here you can see we did the same thing. So where we did this line, we know that, right, about here, we're going to get this line going across all the way over there, and then over from the other side, we're just not really going to see too much of it on that end. And over here, we know about that bone structure, so really we just want to come in a little over here and do the form like this, right? And then over here we said that, well, just about here we're going to get that form for the human head over here. So once we have this, we already know that, okay, look, the brow area is going to be about here. I'm going to get the placement for the ear, and I'm going to get my ear over here, right? So this area here that I'm drawing out, right, it's going to be like this. It's going to go like a skull, but then you'll get the understandings of the neck. So technically what is going to happen is that I'm just going to show you some extra stuff. You're just going to do everything in basic shapes anyways, right? So where we have this, right, where we have this, we know that the line is here, but we know that there's a soft area. So basically there's going to be another plane that's going to come down, and it's going to be like this, giving us the area for the the neck, right? Because we know it's just going to come down like this, so, and then the neck will start to come down in this way, and then we'll get like the Adam's apple, and then you'll get like the other side. Right? We haven't gotten into that, but remember there's like going to be this idea here too, right? And that's really all there is to this, right? So here I'm just gonna clean this up over here. Okay, so now let's draw out another head here. So let's say if this head is kind of going to be looking at us. So here I'm just going to first draw out like a ball shape here first, like this. So here I just, I really want this thing to come like towards us. So we have to think in kind of like perspective as to how we're doing this. Right, just draw this shape like this. Right, so here we can decide, okay, I want really the center line for this to be going in this direction. Right, so here I'm going to kind of like put this idea here like this over here, and this is going to give me like the area for the chin. So meaning that I'm going to now get this over here kind of like this, and it's going to be like this, right? This is going to be the jaw. Then over here, now this is an extreme angle here, so the jaw really is going to be coming this way in here, right? So we're just assuming that that's what it's going to be here, right? This isn't like this extreme angle that I'm putting it on. So if we look at the ideas again, right, we know that, okay, this is going to be my center line, right? And if I look at really the extreme angles of this, I know I can just decide that, look, this is where this is going to be. Now the cool thing about this is now you know that this is coming in front of you, right? So you know that, okay, well, technically this guy here, right, this is going to be like the other end. Technically this stuff here is going to be really coming more towards us, right? It's going to be this very, very steep angle here. Right, so we've got two lines that are really, really close to each other. Right, but this helps you understand that this is going to be this is the front, and your eyes are going to be much more deeper in. Right, so this is the line for the eye. It's very extreme. So you know that, okay, well, this is really just going to be like this over here, and I know that since this is more of an extreme angle, right, about halfway here, I'm going to get the area for the nose. So over here we know that, okay, well, we're going to get obviously these areas over here. We're going to get that area here that we talked about, right? It's really going to go in that direction in this way over here, right? So this thing over here really needs to come kind of like this, right? Right, so you really kind of like have to think about some of this stuff here, right? Right, it's going to be like this over here, and I know that this is really just coming down this way. So if I do it this way, I know that this plane, the plane over here, is going to come here, right? So this will begin to show you that, look, this is a very steep plane over here, right? You're going to have to make some assumptions here, right? Just measure it and go like this, that's what's going on. It's going to be this extreme angle. This we already know from this point. We know that, okay, we know that this is really going to go this way, and this is going to be coming this way, right? So it's going to be like this small plane over here. So this guy here, he really needs to go in that direction over there, right? And then from here, we already know, okay, well, let me think about this over here. I'm going to get really like this plane area here for the nose, and from here I'm going to get these forms like this over here again, right? It's the same conceptual idea. So this is the line for the bottom of the nose, right? We haven't even drawn the nose in 3D yet, right? So here if we divide this in basically different parts here, we know that the line is going to be here, so I'm going to come just a little bit like this, and I know that this is really just going to be kind of like this over here, and this is really just going to come like this over here, right? This one over here, then we get the top of the lips. We know it's just going to be like this over here, and it's going to go, and I'm going to just get these areas here, right? This area here. Right, you're going to have to here you can see we're just doing like a drawing process. So here we know that, right, when I get this, I'm going to get like the bottom of the lip over here, right? And this area here really is going to be in shadows, right? So the lip is in here. Once we get this, then we can begin to understand, okay, I'm getting it now, and this is just going to be a plane over here, right? So this area here where we did this, you can make this a little more wider over here and say that, okay, look, these lines are going to be going up, and then really they're going to be going in this direction over here, up and then going in this direction. And from here we know that we can just wing that from here and really start to make this into a 3D form, right? So the ear is going to be basically over here like this. Right, so this helps us to understand what's going on, right? So again, the eyes are much more deeper in, so you're really not going to see too much here, but you'll begin to understand, okay, so the eyes are really going to be inside there, right? We really didn't get to put that line because we can't. This is coming in front of us, but at least we'll see the bottom for the eyes, right? And this will help you to see much more in perspective as to what's going on. So here I'm just going to do it this way, right? So I'm going to see maybe a little bit of that ear over there, right? So this is again, here we're going to put this line over here and put this line over here, right? So just once you get the concept, you're happy with it, just darken up the lines a little bit. Okay, so now in the I guess in the next lesson what we'll do is we'll just draw 2 more heads just to grasp this concept. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks.